Welcome to YOUCANIC. Today on YOUCANIC I got an S550 Mercedes-Benz, so in the S class. We're going to replace the rear rotor and brakes. The rotor and brakes on an S550. So first I've jacked up the car, got it supported by jack stands so that it won't fall on us, and removed the tire. So we've got to this part. So we've got a couple things to remove. This is a T30 bolt. It's a T30 bolt right here. You want to loosen that. You got to be a little ginger with it sometimes. And this is just a bolt that helps hold the rotor on, and especially on a car without the studs in the middle here, it comes in very good handy. But if it was to break, strip out and couldn't come out, you can just drill the head off, or sometimes use a hammer, like a hammer impact, and grip it and get it to spin out. But you can drill the head off and be able to get your rotor off, and then if you relieve that pressure, this still might come out. If not, it's not extremely crucial to have to put back on, it's just helpful. Okay, so then I find it just as easy to pop this clip off. So if you squeeze it to the back, and just squeeze it to the back, then you can just pull it off. And that's plan. Pop that clip off. And then we just want to give ourselves a little bit of space here. So if you just kind of, this just so you can get the caliper to come away when we take the caliper bolt out. Looks like we got enough gap there. Right over here we have the wear sensor, which is located on the right side of the vehicle. So we'll just go ahead and unclip that, and we'll remove this just so it doesn't get in our, I don't want to break that. I think that. So just take the wear sensor, remove it, and set it to the side so that it won't get in our way. The bolt. And then we've got two bolts on the back here that are size number 18 to remove the caliper itself, to be able to get the brakes off, and to get the rotor off also. This rotor's got a pretty good lip and groove in here, which this brake pad looks like we've got some metal on metal, so clearly the sensor is on the inside, not giving us much of a reading, because that might be metal on metal back there too. So just make sure you turn them counterclockwise to undo it. So that's the top bolt. And we got the bottom bolt down here. Well, that's where I didn't push that caliper back enough. So with the caliper removed, we can see that this brake pad is hit the metal on metal. This one is very close. And we got that sensor to remove when we get to that point. So why this is all still put together like this. So I can set the caliper up on top here pretty easily. So we'll just put it up here. I got one of these brake pusher tools. Very simple, any auto parts store. We want to make sure that you get it in there where the old outside brake was, and then you can push this piston back on the caliper and make sure we're going to stay inside the carrier, as if you get outside of that, then you might push it back, it'll get stuck. So we just push this piston back. And if you do it with leaving this original brake in, then when you push it all the way back, you won't over push it back because the brake is already in the channel. Right. Push back with these. If it doesn't push back with these, then you might want to be looking at some other things, especially like a new caliper in itself or a rebuild kit. And then this has just a clip that holds this in here, so we're just gonna pop it out and take this out. And then we want to remove this wear sensor to be able to install it on the new brake when we put it in. Right, so that's all put back, that's ready. We want to check to make sure that these slide on these guides. They're pretty good, hanging up a little bit, so just clean them up. Now you can, if you want to just take off the carrier itself, this is a size 7 Allen. You can put your Allen in there and these will spin off, but it's just as easy to pull the whole thing off and then slide them out. You'd have to pop these dust boots to be able to get your 7mm in there and to spin these off. And then you can just take this piece off, which carries and holds the brakes up against this. But being that we're replacing rotors and brakes at the same time, we're not going to do that. We don't need to just take this piece off. We'll just take the whole thing. I find it very it's just as easy to replace the whole brake and rotor at the same time. It causes less problems. If this gets too thin, then it warps, and then you have that shudder feeling when you're going down the road and you hit the brakes. And nobody likes that. Anyway, so we got this off. I've got some, it's a brake caliper grease that you can get at your auto parts store. You just want to put a little dab on there, and then just, I like to just, this just helps the slide, so this can slide back and forth on those, in those grommets. Okay, it's all lubed up. Then put it back into those grommets, and then see, that's real smooth, a lot better than it was. I mean, it was still smooth, but not as smooth now. All right, so now you take your brakes. So we got our new brakes. They definitely got a lot more meat on them than those other brakes did. So you're going to take, this is the one that the sensor goes back on, that wear sensor. Just go ahead and put it on now, and you just got to push it in there with the electric connect wires coming to the back. Go ahead and put the wear sensor back on, and you just push it on so that this sensing piece is on the front side, because when you hook up the wires, right, it sets in there like that, so this can be flush on the back. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure, so there's only one little difference on your brake pads themselves. This has got the indent for the wear sensor, and this has a spring clip that clips into the piston on the back. Alright, perfect. That one's installed. Same thing with this one. Just put the opposite direction so that you have the brake pad, pads to pad, with all that meat going backwards. Next, we gotta remove the rotor. We're gonna probably have to use, our goal is to not get this thing really stretched. You can have it hanging on a cable type thing. They make a caliper holder, or I just like to set it up here and it works just fine. So now we're probably going to have to tap this with a hammer a few times to hopefully get it to come right off. I just put the guide bolts in just to hold it so it doesn't just fall and hit the ground. Perfect. It's been removed. You see that? That's a very big ridge in there. So it's a good thing we're getting to replace these brakes and rotors. Same thing on the front. These don't have very much wear life left before they can start warping. You can sometimes get these turned but it's just as easy to just go ahead and buy a new set. Clean that off a little bit, so if you have to replace your brakes in the future because they wear, you can get it off. Alright, so we've got our new caliper, and we gotta want to make sure new caliper that we line this hole up with the hole there to be able to put that set screw in. Just tighten that set screw, not crazy tight. Probably tightened it too tight. Not crazy tight. You want to be able to get it back out next time. That's just to hold this together, especially for when you're putting the lugs in, that this isn't moving back and forth. So now, go ahead and put this on over the rotor. There are bolts to put on the back. Apparently didn't have it. So we're going to tighten the number 18 bolts, the bolts that hold the brake caliper on. Same with the one on the bottom. Alright, those are all good and snug. Let's make sure we don't forget about our wear sensor. Put that back in place there. Push that into clip. There you go. And the last thing is to put this clip back on. So you're going to want to make sure you put this tab on the outside of the carrier, and then these two indents go on the inside. And that's how you install your brakes and rotor on your S-Class Mercedes-Benz. Yeah. Thanks for watching YOUCANIC, where you can be the mechanic.